in employee time and in bad publicity and in lost business. That's your choice. Now, isn't that extortion? This guy, this successful banker, and I can't tell you his name or the name of the bank, though you might be able to figure it out, begged the federal government to let him run his bank, begged his board of directors to let him say to the FDIC, go take a hike. The board caved. They issued a special class of stock. Hank Paulson bought the stock. He bought 2% of the stock. That was September. Come March, Sheila Bair comes knocking. We own 2% of your stock. Here's how you're going to structure your corporation. So A, if this story is true, and I have no reason to disbelieve it, it's extortion, which is B, a crime, and we now have C, a 2% shareholder owner of a class of shares that can't even vote, trying to control management. Stossel.
Is this the banker who gives out copies of Atlas Shrugged? Is it a charity that does that?
Yes.
Well, look, I like to talk about what I've
You would have been very comfortable at this dinner party, John.
I would have. But this is beyond what I've reported on, so I should shut up if I don't know anything about that. It sounds awful. It sounds like extortion.
It sounds exactly like extortion. So what is the government interested in? What is their real interest? They can't be interested in bailing out a bank that doesn't need to be bailed out. They must be interested in some kind of control.
Well, what do you call, as a paisano of ours once called it, state-controlled capitalism?
You call that fascism.
You call it fascism.
Private ownership and public control is the definition.
It's the definition of fascism. It's not nationalism. It's not communism. It's fascism by definition.
If this kind of extortion went on, and according to this person, he was just the first online. There were many, many smaller banks that were subjected to the same kind of extortion. They read Mussolini's biography, except they didn't read the last chapter, which is an extremely unhappy ending.
And that, hey, look what's going on. It's off with their heads. Look what's going on in Europe. Look what the Bank of Scotland, how people are rioting against the people that they feel that have put him in this problem. It's not going to be far from that if things keep going like this.
Well, what is a banker to do who's forced to issue stock to a shareholder he doesn't want, a shareholder that he's now in bed with, a shareholder that can write the rules? Is it just vote the bums out of office?
Well, I just wish some of these businesses would be public. Why doesn't he say, okay, let's just put this, I have my camera here, and just go over this deal again. Let's just make sure we all agree, and well, American people can see how you're bullying us around. I can see why they don't want to fight back, because they don't want to be singled out by the regulators. But until business speaks up, we're done for. And the rioting you talked about, it so upsets me that they riot against the entrepreneurs, often the ones who weren't responsible. But they're never mad at the politicians. The politicians are always assumed to be out for our good.
I understand from reports at the G20, and of course they've yet to get together in one room, but just the emails I get from the Fox people that are over there, and I'm sure you get them from your own colleagues, John, that they seem to be breaking off.
I don't read those.
Oh, all right. They seem to be breaking
daily
off.
news. I do weekly news.
All right. They seem to be breaking off into camps, and the president is isolated with just Prime Minister Gordon Brown. Nobody else there, though a lot of them are socialists, seem to be in favor of this kind of spending, and the person least in favor of it is the Prime Minister of China, who seriously questions whether or not we can pay these bills back.
And look what's they're talking about a new currency, a new reserve currency. First Russia, now China. You know, the United States is this, and as we all know, this is a global meltdown. We're looking at the global financial system collapsing before our eyes. Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Romania, Hungary, all begging for Ukraine, all begging for IMF money. The Celtic tiger in China, it's gone, it's dead. Spain, the UK. This is a global meltdown, and the irony is they're looking to the United States to bail it out. At the same time, they're blaming the United States, and it's not the United States' fault. Everybody played this game. So to put the blame on the United States for this deregulation and all of these wild things that went on, they all played the game. Austria, If 10% of Eastern Europe loans fail, the Austrian banking system collapses. Austria, Belgium, Germany, and Italy, the prime loaners to that area. So everybody's been playing this game.
Wouldn't it have been better off if we just let AIG fall? Just like we let Lehman Brothers fall and Barclays picked up the good parts and they worked and the bad parts went away?
And the Austrian bank fell too? I think so. Clearly, if you invent the wheel, you're going to need a lot of money to sell this make a lot of these cool new things, make the world more productive because you have a smarter idea. Somebody is going to want to loan you money to do that. If the bank isn't there, maybe it'll be PayPal or some new form of non-bank lending. Who knows? With computers, recovery happens faster if we would just allow it to hit the floor and start over again without these bailouts.
You and I have talked about this for as long as we've known each other. Is there something about the personality of people that get in the government that they can't understand the simplicity of the argument you just made? That they have to show the folks back home that they're doing something, that they're using the power of the government affirmatively to save people. Never mind the disasters it'll cause in the years and generations to come, but they're doing something now.
Well, sure, the people who go into government want to run other people's lives. But don't you think it's more than just I mean, the people out there now, except they're watching this program, you people are very different. But most people have this faith in mommy, daddy, government. It's going to take care of us. It can spend us out of the bubble somehow. I agree. It makes no sense. It's blowing air into a popped bubble. That just creates more debt. But
why wouldn't somebody like Geithner, who's been in banking all of his life, understand this?
It's part of the problem. These are the people that deregulated Glass-Steagall under the Clinton administration.
Well, was that a problem?
Well, yeah, because what it allowed was companies like Citigroup to become bankers, the casinos started gambling. The banking system in this country was held together by making very safe bets, not speculating on their own. So when the bank starts playing the tables, and as every casino knows, you don't gamble.
But the hedge funds gambled, and they're down 18% when the banks are down 50%.
Exactly. But they went down in a bigger way. So it was too big. This whole concept, I don't know who came up with it. Again, an op-ed piece I wrote, I called it Capitalism for Cowards. In 1998, long-term capital management, they were talking about they're too big to fail. I could say with full authority that their mother's not better than mine. Who came up with this concept? This is supposed to be free market enterprise? They're too big to fail? No, the system's not going to collapse. They're going to go out of business.
Well, but why doesn't anybody recognize, except those of us who talk about this all the time, and the good people that watch us, that send us wonderful emails for which we are deeply grateful, suggesting these topics and suggesting the colleagues and friends that I have on the show, understand that the more regulation there is, the less freedom there is, and the less freedom there is, the less successful investment is likely to be. I have a friend who is a physician who runs a hedge fund in which he develops new drugs. He's gotten 10 or 15 new patents. He's employed...
I mean, he invests in people who develop new drugs.
Correct. He's employed 1,500 to 2,000 people from time to time. Every one of his investors is an owner of the hedge fund. There's no problem with transparency. Everybody sees everything. And they've made tremendous amounts of money for the investors and given thousands of people jobs. They're shutting down because they don't want to do this with government regulation. Now, what the heck is the government accomplishing if they're going to stifle that type of entrepreneurship and that type of freedom?
Well, they're getting into the business themselves.
Right. Well, they're getting into the business themselves.
Well, they're getting into the business themselves. There you go. Goes back to, what do you call this?
You call this fascism. Did you see Stiglitz in today's New York Times? It's very interesting.
I did.
Very interesting piece. This is theft of taxpayer dollars is what it is.
I'm just curious, the medical guys, I mean, clearly we need these cool new drugs.
Yes, we do. And never mind the FDA, which of course he wants to wring by the neck because he knows these things work. That's another issue.
Which part of the regulations scared him so much that he ran away?
The proposal by Geithner, which is now 10 days ago, which the president endorsed at his news conference from the East Room 2 Tuesday nights ago, that the government will have the right to examine the books of any corporation they want, any entity they want, whether it's publicly traded, regulated by the SEC, a recipient of federal largesse, or mom and pop owned. They will claim the authority if the Congress can give this to them. This is that famous interrogation by Congresswoman Bachmann of Tim Geithner. Where in the Constitution? Where in the Constitution? Where in the Constitution? He couldn't even give the liberals' favorite part of the Constitution.